Hatchet Mountain Store and Tavern. We lived on Hatchet Mountain, and that was the only business for about 45 square miles. And so it was the gas station, it was the grocery store, although we didn't really have many groceries. And it was chiefly the bar. And it was also had a pretty rough place. It had a rough reputation. So I was never allowed in during business hours. In fact, other kids I knew were allowed in, but I wasn't. So I'd give them money to go buy me a candy bar or something, and we'd split it. But when my dad went there, he would always take me over to a friend of ours who lived in the woods off to the side of the tavern in a little trailer. And we'd get out, he'd walk me over there and leave me with Roy, and then he'd go in the bar. And so Roy was an old logger and a trapper, and lived by himself in his little trailer, and he told me lots of stories of the old logging days, which I found so fascinating, about when they used the misery whips, the big cross-cut saws, and you could see, the big slits in the stumps where the men had stood on those springboards and used the saws, and these old steam gins and so on, and the logging camps, and what kind of a lonely life the logging camps was. And it's hard to have a relationship unless you were a flume rider. There was a 30-mile water flume that ran from the top of our mountain down into the valley, 30 miles long, up on stilts. And so if you were a flume rider, you could live in a little hut on these stilts with a family. You could have a wife and a child live there with you. You wouldn't be in the logging camp with all these other guys. However, being a flume rider was also the most dangerous job of all, because these guys actually rode the logs down the flume to keep them from jamming. Yeah. So stories like that. So I put those together. Roy ended up being kind of like one of my grandpas. We decided to tow his trailer to our house so we wouldn't have to drive down the road to see him anymore. And we just sort of adopted him, and he adopted us. So this is a song I wrote for Roy. It's called Promised Land.